To the listeners also, we're about another 10 minutes or so. So if you have any questions you want to ask these gentlemen, start sending them in.
The numbers to text are 0912-794-372 or 0912-794-373. If you have any questions for our guests, for Henok or our guest, Ato Seyum, Yilika, and Levi.
Ilikal wants to add.
Sure.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so Levi has brought up interesting points. For sure, we are in many ways behind Kenya in ICT-related services and access. But I also see it as an opportunity for us. You know, every challenge is an opportunity on the other side. I was, for example, very interested. It's never, for people who are in the ICT business, never fast enough. But I attended a public-private forum a few months ago, and we were told by officials who were there that they were adding about 1 million subscribers every 4 months or every 3 months in Ethiopia now, mobile phone subscribers.
1 million?
1 million subscribers. Wow. So that should put Ethiopia, if this is maintained, in a pretty good mobile adoption rate within few years. It would, it can go 30, 40 million subscribers, and that would be about half the population. Not too bad. In terms of what the association can do to enable private sector ICT companies to grow and be sustainable, there's a number of services that the ICT Association has, one of which is bringing international companies to share their services and technologies and products with companies here. So, like Levi mentioned, exposure to these things is important for them to adopt it. So they have to see what it does, how it has helped others, for people to start wanting it and use it. So we have this quarterly technology innovation series. We started with Google. There will be another one soon. So we will bring and introduce the private companies here to these technologies that others have been using for longer than us. There is a public-private forum to bring together the issues from the private ICT sector and have policymakers focus on them, so this growth and contribution that ICT can make to the economy can be realized faster. There is also global Africa-wide conference we are trying to bring. So like it was mentioned before, the biggest IT conferences in Africa currently take place in Kenya, sometimes in South Africa, the GSMA Africa Summit, the CDMA Summit. So it would be very beneficial for us to bring one of these here. So first, the outside companies can also see what Ethiopians can do, and then Ethiopians can learn from them. So there's a connection
in the market also.
Yeah. So
the local.
Yeah. So that is important. The other thing I think is important is, like Henok mentioned and Levi and Siyum alluded to, not a lot of Ethiopians have access to computers at the moment, but a lot of people now have access to mobile phones. And increasingly, not just in Ethiopia, but worldwide, people's first contact with the internet will be through mobile phones. Their mobile phones generally becoming much more powerful. You can do a lot of things on them. You can do word processing, you can do emails, you can do internet, you can SMS, you can download applications.
That tends to be the case for Africa for the most part. Instead of computers, it's really mobile sets that are driving the revolution in ICT. So maybe you can take on a little bit more on, that was a wonderful explanation of the association, but how about government? How about the diaspora? What role could they play in upgrading the quality and capacity of the private sector locally to start rising up to these challenges? But also, there's a mountain of opportunities, really.
Well, to start with the government is doing a great job in building infrastructure. That's the most important starting point. Once you have the telecom expansion, the electricity, all these things are interrelated, as Levi mentioned earlier. They are all interrelated. If you don't have electricity, you cannot use computers unless you use generators and stuff. But that's the starting point. So once the infrastructure is well built across the nation, and the communication highway, superhighway, is built, For example, I can mention the fiber optics. It's completed, and that will practically jump the whole affair. Like users, once the mobile penetration or telephone penetration expands into the rural areas, all these things come into the right combination, and then that will give the users the ability to communicate efficiently in a productive way. So that is the government's role, to build infrastructure and to put policy in place. And one of the most challenging parts is put a standard as well. We have to have a standard. Just to divert from what I've started, we kind of missed one important aspect of why ICT is not expanding. Don't forget, Ethiopia it has a very fast-growing economy, but it's not living the developed world. It's not, the cost of computers, the cost of technology is still expensive to the majority of the Ethiopian population. So that is one aspect which is dragging us back. And you also mentioned why we're not in par with Kenya. And again, I can bring you back to localization. The Kenyans speak English, and they can utilize the mobile phone technology easier than any Ethiopian farmer who is in the rural part of Ethiopia or even in town. Again, the diaspora, you mentioned about the diaspora. I think it's about time that the diaspora come and look into the opportunities in Ethiopia. I mean, we have come, all three of us have come, you yourself and many others. We're here witnessing the change. The change is happening. If people don't come and see this, they're losing. Trust me. Just being here and witnessing this is by itself a blessing. And then taking advantage, because we have our own background. We speak the language, the various languages within Ethiopia. We have exposure to the Western world or any other part of the world. We have seen how they utilize the technology, but we're an advantage because we're just we're not starting up. We're just learning and adopting technologies and implement. But it has to be unique to the situation in Ethiopia. So that's bringing this. So the diaspora can bring in the knowledge, because there's a big pool of knowledge in the West or in outside Ethiopia. People can bring in that experience and bring and find a solution to the local problems here. Yeah. So that's one of the contribution of the diaspora.
It's the back to the future effect, I call it. You have been to the future already, and you're back now, so you have advantages. You could not only help, but also take advantage. On the backs of that, maybe let me add one last question to you all. Jilikali, you were mentioning Google last time, and how Kenya and South Africa are basically the hubs. What would it take to bring in the likes of, say, Microsoft, Oracle, to start having their regional presence here? I mean, the market is absolutely here, you could tell. But what will it take to attract them? I know with the association there's a number of things that you guys are doing and some communications, some interest with some of those corporations, in which, in fact, this is another role for the diaspora, where we have high-level people in all of these IT companies.
Let me add to that. I know others may also. Having worked for international companies outside, when you mention Ethiopia to them, it's like a cloud, because they don't understand Ethiopia. They don't have exposure to Ethiopia. So the first thing we have to do, not just for Microsoft and those who have regional offices, is basically all these companies that are out there, they need to first come and visit Ethiopia. So we've, part of what Yilkal was saying earlier is the association is to expose, to engage, and enable the private sector in Ethiopia. So part of the exposure is for the international companies to Ethiopia, and Ethiopian companies to the international community, the same with the engagement, the same with the enablement. So that's what we need to do. The first step is that they need to come here. The government is building the ICT park here, just outside of Addis Ababa, actually within the city limits of Addis Ababa.
Around CMC, I think, right?
Yeah, within the city limits. And what we need to do first and foremost is have them come here and see for themselves. So we try to do that as much as we can. The Google people came. We will push them to try to open an office at the ICT park. We'll do the same for Oracle. We'll do the same for Microsoft, HP, Nokia, IBM, all of them. And the more and more of the contracts that they get in this country, the more they would come here. And one of the things we should push for is for them to have the regional headquarters here and not in Nairobi.
You're upsetting all the Kenyans out there. I'm going to add a last question as you continue. All of these opportunities. We have only 2 minutes. So one idea you want to push to young entrepreneurs out there in the IT sector.
Take advantage of the platform we have created, the association. Come visit our website, ICTET.org. You have the mentoring program there, the diaspora mentoring section, where you can communicate with the experts abroad who can mentor you and take advantage of that. But come to our meetings and we'll just follow up what we're doing, because that's what we're set to do.
ICTET.org. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great point. The other thing is, whatever ideas you have, write them down and find a way to channel them. And the association can be a good point, but if you can do it among your friends, that's fine. In the end, we either have to do it or it never gets done. There's nobody else who will do it for us. So just find like-minded people if you get discouraged to push your ideas and your ICT solutions and business forward. And the association will be willing to point you in some useful directions or help you in ways that you can.
Hot business idea? You have like 10 seconds.
Mobile applications.
Wow. Very well.
Wow, 2 words.
Well, I would like to thank Afro FM and Precise Consult for giving us this opportunity and share what we have with you. Thanks for listening.
Okay,
thank you all.
Afro FM would like to thank you all for coming in. This has been another exciting episode of Ethiopian Investment Radio. Remember, you can text in your questions if you still have questions at 0912-794-372 or 0912-794-373. All right? So keep it locked right here, 105.3 Afro FM.
You're listening to 105.3